All right, so chapter 2 is on the project lifecycle. So for this, what you need to know is mainly the terms SDLC and the 5 phases of the SDLC. So what exactly is a phase? Okay, so you can think of this something like a paper that you've done for another class. Okay, so the first part, your professor decides, okay, what's going to be on the paper, what all is he or she going to ask for, and your professor will type up, all the stuff and give you a piece of paper, okay, saying like, okay, this is what you need to write about. So that is the planning phase. So then the second step, the analysis phase, is something like, you going through this, the paper that your professor's given you, and thinking about, okay, do I have any questions? What does this mean? Like, what exactly did the professor want in this paper? What should the length be? Should it be 5 pages, 10 pages? Do you need to quote all your references? Is there a particular structure they're looking for? So all these questions you have to ask your professor, and then you get all the requirements. So this is the analysis phase. Okay, you haven't started doing any of this yet. Okay, so now our next phase is the design phase. Okay, so the design phase, you still haven't started writing the paper, but what you're doing is you're thinking of the structure of the paper. Okay, I'm going to start with an introduction, then I'm going to read up on different literature sources and say like, okay, here's what other people have said, and then after that, I'm going to give my own opinion, and then I'm going to put in a conclusion. After that, I'm going to put in the references. All right, so all this is comes in design, but you still haven't started writing the paper. Okay, the actual writing of the paper goes into the system's implementation phase. So this is when you actually go like read up, okay, what have people said about this topic? Okay, let me quote this person, let me quote that person, let me put all the stuff in the references, let me give my own opinion of the paper. Okay, so all this goes into the implementation phase. Now the last phase, maintenance, think of this something like you after you finish your paper, you go and show your professor, okay, here's the paper, what should I do? So your professor reads the paper and say, okay, you've done well here. You need to change this. Maybe like make a few more references. This part, you can remove this. This is unnecessary. So things like that. So your professor gives you the feedback. You make the changes. So that's the maintenance phase. Now with the class project, all this fits neatly into these 5 phases. However, when you're talking about an actual system, like it never fits so neatly into these phases. So basically, the majority of the work is done in the maintenance phase. Think of this like an app that you downloaded, from the App Store. The majority of the work done behind the scenes is after you download the app. The people behind the scenes keep releasing updates. They read all the feedback, see what complaints people have about the app, and then start doing all the updates for the app. So that is actually the maintenance phase. And as you'll see, like websites, actually, the majority of the work is done in maintenance phase. So once they put the website up, the customers will be like, oh, I can't find this, or this information is missing, or actually we need to update this, we need to add these pictures, we need to add these videos. So that's a maintenance phase. That's a majority of the time taken in the in the system development life cycle. Okay, so but before that, like these 4 phases, the actual building of the website or the app happens in the implementation phase. Okay, but as you're building, you'll find that you have further questions. You'll have to go back and get some more requirements from the client. So that's in the analysis phase. And then you'll have to ask the client, okay, so okay, here's what I've done for the website, or here's what I've done for the app. What changes should I make? Okay, so all this is done in the design. Okay, so in actual systems design, you tend to go back and forth between the phases. It's not as simple as, okay, here, let's finish the first phase, then go to the second, then go to third, fourth, fifth, so on and so forth. All right, let's answer the question, Black.